Hey, welcome back to the About the Labor podcast here at VikingsTerritory.com. I am BJ Reidell, back here with my guy, Drew Mahowald, and today we're talking more organized team activities. That's the main show going on right now, and really it's the only show. So we're going to talk about that particular video that surfaced on Twitter yesterday that's kind of sent everyone into a bit of a tailspin, kind of give our take on that and how we diagnose that 49-second piece of film. And then after that, we will talk about Laquon Treadwell. This is a guy that I feel like Drew and I have been somewhat unfair to because we've been ragging on him whenever we talk about him. But for the most part, we don't give a whole lot of supporting evidence other than the fact that he only caught one ball last year. So this is the opportunity here because he is the shining star of OTAs through two sessions. So we'll be talking about him a little bit in his first team reps, 3 wide receiver sets. And after that, we're just going to kind of go on a tangent a little bit here, kind of see what happens. We have, like I said, dead period. It's tough to come up with stuff to talk about, so hopefully something comes up, and that's our plan. We do stuff on the fly all the time, so hopefully this is no different. And then we will round it out with the Take 5 segment. This week it is top 5 celebrations, and I'll explain that further and more intricately once we get to that point. But let's jump into this video, Drew. I feel like everyone knows what I'm talking about, but why don't you go ahead and enlighten the folks that, I guess, weren't alive yesterday in our Vikings fans.
Yeah, the Vikings Twitter account, I believe, well, the Vikings website in general, released a short, I think it was under a minute, just a few slow motion clips of Teddy out throwing with the team during OTAs. I think that's all it was. Really, it was some dropbacks and some throwing, and it didn't seem like too much else was going on. Really, obviously the way the fan base has kind of reacted to the injury and to Teddy's rehab, it obviously blew up, and people reacted in very kind of aggressive ways about it. So. But it created a lot of buzz about the team. Certainly, you had TV networks talking about it. You had popular websites writing about it. So I personally kind of think that was more of what the intent was to create buzz about the team.
All about money. That's what it's always going to come down to. And that, by the way, kind of back to that franchise player argument. Guys, who's your franchise player? Oh, it's the guy that the team does not stop marketing despite not being on the active roster. So that's the end of that argument. This video, here's how I reacted to it, and I'll give you the play-by-play of how I encountered this video, right? So I had been moving stuff around all day. I was pissed off because nobody likes moving, and I hadn't been on Twitter. I decided to hop on the .com, and I see a flurry of free-firing Vikings fans talking about Teddy Bridgewater once again. Of course, I had to get to the root of this situation, and I check out the video. I watched about 20 seconds of it, and I smiled. I felt good about it. I felt good about the video.
I smiled.
It made me, excited because for me, it confirmed the fact that his rehab is progressing very smoothly and is way ahead of schedule for me. So that's how I took it. I just took it as, there's reason to be optimistic now. This guy is actually recovering, and he's at OTAs working with his teammates. Drew and I talked about this last week. It's a chemistry-building activity. He's doing the chemistry thing. And, quarterbacks at OTAs, he's basically doing what a general quarterback would do at OTAs, just doing some dropbacks, working on his footwork, doing some kind of eye look-off stuff, kick the safety out, stuff like that. Just little, not intangible, but just little traits that quarterbacks work on just in general that help their field vision and just how they operate. So that's what he was working on, in my opinion. I saw some nice weight distribution in his hips. Looked like he was putting some weight on that blown out leg, I guess, limb. So that was good to see. But as a whole, so I will defend the people that are excited because I think there's reason to be excited. But, guys, Sam Bradford is your quarterback. And that's, I'll kick it over to you from there. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, maybe I read this wrong because I was busy all day today, which is Wednesday. So maybe I missed this, but I don't think he was actually at the practice today or at the OTAs today. That to me, it's like, well, they brought this guy out. They recorded him a few times. to get the buzz going about the Minnesota Vikings, about Teddy Bridgewater, about the most marketable guy, like you said, on the franchise, and now they're letting him go back to his own rehab. I mean, all it does for me is kind of there were some reports of him doing really well in his rehab, and for the most part, at least for me, they were from reliable people. I believed them. And that was it. And I think this kind of says, okay, those reports were true. And from there, that's about all I have. Everything else, as far as Sam Bradford being the quarterback in 2017, and probably after, it's probably Sam Bradford still. This doesn't change that at all. It's likely that if he performs the same way he did last year, he'll get the extension. He'll be the franchise quarterback moving forward for the next few years. And Teddy Bridgewater's status will be. He probably won't be a Viking long term. So that's just the way it is right now. Things have to change for Bridgewater to be the guy. But, this video doesn't change that. It just shows Bridgewater throwing a football, which is nice to see. That's awesome to see. But
two thumbs up.
It doesn't mean a whole lot to me anyway right now. I don't think it shows anything significant.
It means that Teddy is practicing football, less than a year removed from almost dying. That's what it means to me. That means that
right.
holds some weight.
No, yeah.
So in my head,
great.
that's worth celebrating. That piece, that of the whatever you want to call it, that chunk is what makes it exciting to me. But don't go talking about him being the starting quarterback yet. He's not active. Like Drew said, he's not even really there. It seems like he was
it's so much of a difference. There's such a difference between dropping back and throwing a pass, and then putting on pads and playing against real contact.
I've been saying this for the last 6 months. We won't know if he recovered or not until he faces pressure, because it's a mental thing too. Like when he gets Leonard Floyd coming off the edge, when he just bounces off of Riley Reef at some point, we'll say it's in 2018. How does he react? Does he still have that shifty footwork and the ability to extend the play? One of the kind of the driving assets of what makes up Teddy Bridgewater's football persona. I don't know.
Don't know.
That knee, I can't tell you guys I can't tell you guys this enough. I'm not a doctor. I just read all of the information and try to process it and regurgitate it to you guys maybe in a simpler text. Like, I don't know how that knee worked out. I just know that it's really, really bad, and the fact that he is moving around on it. Sally. I'll pump my fist to that, but that's it. Sam Bradford's still the quarterback. But the one thing, and I think this is fun to talk about because it's becoming more and more real. Like, I made a joke about it on the roundtable 3 weeks ago. But 2018, guys, is kind of setting up to be a real showdown. Yeah. We're looking at Teddy Bridgewater at this point. I feel like you can be comfortable saying that he could potentially come off IR midway through the season. It kind of looks that way. Again, not a doctor, kind of guessing, sort of basing it off of Paul Allen's report. That's what I think of where Teddy Bridgewater is going to be. That means he'll probably be fully healthy and well versed in the offense. A full offseason of healthy training with Pat Shurmur. Let's say he doesn't play through 6 weeks. The contract tolls. Vikings are still have him under control. What do you do with Sam Bradford? Well, you give him the franchise tag because you're not paying a quarterback so much money. You don't have to pay Xavier Rhodes the big bucks for 2 more years, even though the extension would start next year. So that's what happened. That's what might happen here. You could see a franchise tag and a toll guy battling it out, for all the marbles. And the most important factor of it is they're both going to be in contract years. How cool is that? These are two top 15-ish quarterback. Guys, this might be the best camp battle of all time, is what I'm saying. And again, I'm 25. I didn't see the camp battles back when Bud Grant was around. But if you get two top 15 quarterbacks that would start for the majority of teams would trade probably a second-round pick, second and a fourth at least, even at this market currently, to get a hold of one of these guys. And then it comes down to who is going to be the 5-year, $125 million extension. That's awesome. And I just really hope, it bothers me that people keep saying, I hope that Sam Bradford plays poorly so it gives Teddy a better chance. Guys, you don't want that. You want Sam Bradford to be at maximum power, and you want Teddy Bridgewater to come in with a chip on his shoulder. And if you're a Teddy fan, you want him to just overwhelm everyone all over again. Throw that touchdown in the preseason and again the Arizona Cardinals game that got everyone hyped. You want him to do that all over again and then show the footwork and show the mobility. And he'll probably lock it down. I mean, he's got the inside track. But it just bothers me that people don't want Bradford to play well because, guys, you're Vikings fans. Teddy Bridgewater is an individual. He's part of the product. You gotta...
it's the charisma and the
I get
the
all
personality.
That.
That's what
too.
it is.
I love him too, but
name on the
front,
but like that's the
not
thing.
the name on the back. Like, how do people
the thing
not
about
understand
that
that?
I don't like is that Sam Bradford will literally never be good enough.
Never. He won't be.
For the franchise. He won't. Like, he could do...
Because you're going to get a split decision.
He could throw for 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, or whatever you want statistically, or however you want it. And he won't be good enough because he doesn't have the charisma of Teddy Bridgewater. He doesn't have the story that Teddy Bridgewater does from him, from growing up. He doesn't have the character and the personality. He doesn't have it.
He doesn't have the pink car that he gave his mom when she got over
he's
cancer.
A relatively, from what we know about Sam Bradford, he's a relatively boring person, and he's not that appealing in comparison to Teddy Bridgewater. So
one notable piece of news on him is pretty negative. Him wanting out of Philadelphia because he wasn't happy. Like, that's the only real news that we have on Bradford. We don't know.
Exactly.
We don't know what video games Sam Bradford plays, I feel like we know that kind of stuff for Brian. Brian Robertson's a fisherman. Teddy Bridgewater obviously has so many of these different little things going on in his life. I mean, we know so much more personal stuff about a lot of these players. Bradford is basically just a glass that you're just filling up with information at this point. He's not a loudmouth.
He's not marketable,
He's not.
He's not the face of a franchise like Teddy is. He's not that guy. And
that's not a bad thing.
That hurts him. That hurts him in the eyes of fans a ton, though. Especially in comparison. So, I'm not trying to advocate for Bradford over Teddy right now. I'm simply saying that Sam Bradford's being underappreciated a ton, and he has been since he's put it on a Vikings uniform, and it's only because of Teddy Bridgewater's that story and the charisma and everything that it's just Bradford's on an uneven playing field in that aspect. So. He can't really win over fans unless he wins the Super Bowl.
Unless fans are going to be rational about this and think about the team, which I don't know why this is the thing. Like, why, guys, cheer for the team. Always cheer for the team. You're Vikings fans. There's a reason why you like that player in the first place. Is because you affiliate with the Vikings and that guy's your Vikings quarterback. Like, guys, it's about the team. Always.
The fans are convinced that they're in their heads, they're already convinced mentally that Bradford can't be the guy because he's not Bridgewater. So even if Bradford does, let's say he performs really well this year, and he gets that extension, the fans are already going to be in their heads doomed. They're going to feel bad. They're not going to feel great about it. They're going to wish it was Bridgewater, yada yada yada. But
there will always be that what if. There'll be the what-if argument, too, that will come up, like, way too much. Yeah. People will say, well, what if the Vikings signed Teddy Bridgewater? That happened all this year already.
It happened in 2016 the entire time. Well, what if Teddy Bridgewater was playing? Vikings would be in the Super Bowl or something. Like, there are very few quarterbacks in the league that would have performed at all, a top 10 caliber.
Here's what I want to ask you, based off of all this, to boil it down to one point before we move on to Treadwell. What's it going to take for Sam Bradford to win the franchise over? What does he have to do
to win the franchise over?
To win?
Are you talking the front office or are you talking the fans?
I'm talking the fans.
I think that's
definitely
totally
the fans. What's that?
The fans?
Mm-hmm.
I think it means a Super Bowl. Honestly,
is that it's the only thing that he can do to?
I think. I mean, if he wins a conference championship and gets in the Super Bowl, and the Vikings end up losing. Well, Teddy would have won that Super Bowl.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just pushing your thinking along. I mean,
but I think if he makes the playoffs, he will get the extension. I can promise you that.
I think, honestly, and this might be unfair, but I think that he needs to throw 40 touchdowns and make the playoffs for Vikings fans to say, "Yep, this is our guy." They need to get the Dante Culpepper feel. That's what needs to happen. They need to get the.
They won't. They won't get it though.
Probably not because
even Dante had some marketability and some charisma. Bradford's just.
Yeah, I mean, I love Sam Bradford. I think he's a really, really good dude. He's just not Teddy Bridgewater. It's like Jimmy Garoppolo and Tom Brady. When you're looking at them, you're like, these are two very, very attractive males. But you're just like, one of them's not Tom Brady. That's a really ridiculous analogy, but I think you guys get what I'm saying. It's funny. We'll try to have some fun here on the About the Labor podcast. So, final take here, Drew. What's the last thing you want to get off your whatever? Get off your chest.
First of all, I'm going to plug Sam Newman's article on Vikings Territory. It's he discussed why Vikings fans are too invested maybe in Teddy Bridgewater, and that, that their approach to the whole situation is it's shaded by kind of Teddy bias, I guess, for a lot of fans anyway. And I agree with it. It's just I've said this for a long time. You know this too, that people are evaluating Sam Bradford differently because of how they feel towards, like, their feelings toward Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, they don't want to say it, they're not going to admit it, but they have an unconscious bias against Bradford that they don't want to admit. And I think obviously that type of stuff's hard to avoid, but I really think that that's kind of playing into it. And I think Bradford's he's kind of screwed, really, as far as the fan base goes. So he's kind of in a weird situation.
He's always been screwed, though. I mean, this is kind of Sam Bradford's MO.
But at the same time, he's getting paid. He's got paid so much money for being relatively an average quarterback. I think last year was a little above average, but for what he's been.
He's making it financially speaking, no doubt about that, but he has been undervalued, underappreciated. Philadelphia Eagles mortgaged their future to get a quarterback that played in the FCS level and is basically a big question mark instead of Sam Bradford.
He's slightly better than Blake Bortles.
Guys,
Carson Wentz.
It's always going to be the thing that Sam Bradford does his interviews like this. Yeah, that was a good practice. Yeah, we played well, and we're getting some good coverage. Me and Rudy are working out really well together. Yeah, we worked out well last year, and same thing this year. Yep. Okay. Yeah. That's going to be Sam Bradford always.
He's your local financial advisor, the guy that has the big billboard in town, the one big billboard. It's his face,
and it's like that. It's like him squinting or something like that. Something like. Man, Sam Bradford, guys, that's your quarterback. Buy that jersey, and I'm right now. I was just in terms of the marketing thing to kind of reiterate.
There's about an 80% chance. About an 80% chance he's the Vikings starting quarterback in 2018. Sam Bradford.
He is, and what's hilarious about that is that his jersey is not on the first page of the Vikings website shop.
Really?
But you know whose is?
Oh, I bet you it's Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh, yeah, he's Teddy Bridgewater, yeah. Number one, the first one is a customizable one. Second one is Harrison Smith. Third one is Teddy Bridgewater. Fourth one is Chad Greenway. And the fifth one is Chris Carter. After that, Fran Tarkenton, another Harrison Smith, Adrian Peterson.
See, that's what we should have looked at when we decided our face of the franchise argument. That would have been a good place to start there.
I've been guys, I'm telling you that this is hilarious. There is a Desmond Bishop jersey on the first page and not a Sam Bradford one. There's also a John Carl. Guys, this is ridiculous. This is your answer right here. The Vikings aren't putting Bradford's name jersey, the quarterback, the jersey that everyone has for every franchise. You just default to the quarterback because of long term. He's a icon in your town. Everyone knows him. Not even on the first front page. That should tell you something right there. And I think that I would just like to wrap it up on that point and let you guys mull that over while I'm telling you that he's still the face of the franchise. On to the next one, though. Another fun topic for sure, Laquon Treadwell. And like I said earlier in the intro, I think that Drew and I have been somewhat unfair. There has been reasonable, rational optimism and some nice logic that we have used here. But for the most part, we keep going back to he caught one ball for 15 yards last year, and that's followed up by some sort of joke like, well, he had a good catch average, something like that. And that's pretty much the extent of Laquon Treadwell.
He did lead the team in yards per catch, so...
There you go. There's the joke right there. So, Treadwell it sounds like he's going to get his opportunity. Again, preface all of this by saying, It's organized team activities, basically glorified captain's practice, guys.
Right there. That was my point.
So, yes, he's getting reps, and it's good that he's getting first team reps because he's, again, going back to the chemistry thing. This is the C word that we're going to be using through OTAs here. Chemistry, chemistry, chemistry. That's good. Working with Thielen, Diggs, and 3 wide receiver sets, knowing the route depths that killed him last year and made him look really bad a couple times. That's all great. But does it matter? I mean, what do you think?
I've had this debate so many times on Twitter with one guy in particular, my friend Miles Gorham, and he's pretty set on the fact that Treadwell is going to get the best chance here in that kind of versus Michael Floyd, and that wouldn't surprise me. I'm sure he will, especially with Floyd probably getting suspension. But my thing is,
take away that suspension, though. You take away that suspension because obviously
that's exactly my thing. Like, you look at the two players, who has more to prove on the field? It's not even close.
I mean,
Laquon Treadwell has everything to prove. Everything. He has one catch in his rookie. He had one catch in his rookie season.
People knock
and I know
Floyd
that's the oldest
for basically no reason. I mean, Floyd's a 1,000-yard receiver that's caught 5 touchdowns in every year of his career. I mean, he doesn't really have that much to prove, like in terms of being a good rosterable player. He's already proved that. He has potential.
And people get so hung up on his lack of production last year, moving into New England during their playoff run, like it was like he's supposed to come in and
hardest off. There's only 2 teams in the entire NFL that run an Erhardt-Perkins school of thought offense because it's that complicated, both in the text and like how you like coordinate what calls to bring in and kind of stuff. He was screwed the second he got to New England. And for the record, when he was on the field, 2 absolute highlight reel moments for Floyd. That touchdown that he basically grinded his way in from about 5 yards out, and then the block to spring Edelman for a 77-yard touchdown.
Yep.
Guys, when he was on the field, he was producing the exact same way he had in Arizona. So that's my take on Floyd, and that relates directly to Laquon Treadwell. This isn't to say that Floyd deserves those snaps more than Treadwell. Floyd needs to come in and prove who he is, right? He needs to come in and take that job because it's essentially Treadwell's job to lose. I'm not saying
this is a good point.
I'm not saying that it's going to be difficult for Floyd to jump over him, but Floyd does need to come in. He needs to prove, first of all, that he's serious about football. He needs to come in and prove that. I think that, in my personal opinion, he's already proved that to me. Second thing he needs to do, he needs to win over his teammates, and he needs to win over his quarterback. If Sam Bradford likes Michael Floyd more than he likes Laquon Treadwell, and don't act like Bradford and Shermer don't talk about that kind of thing, guess who's going to be your starting receiver? Michael Floyd. So it's a huge opportunity for Treadwell, and it seems like it starts, Tuesday, because he's getting the real live action that we want to see him get, and he's going to have every opportunity. I'm still sticking with Floyd, though. So, I mean, until I see Laquon Treadwell starting week 3 of the preseason, lining up with Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, I think it's Michael Floyd's job to lose, with exception to the fact that Treadwell will be taking first-team reps because he's suspended for the first 2 games or the first 4 games or whatever it amounts to be.
See, you mentioned that something about what Michael Floyd has to prove, that he has to prove that he still is that guy, the guy that can, what was it, 800 yards in 2015, be that physical red zone mismatch. He can still prove he is that guy. Mm-hmm. That's the difference in this battle that we're kind of, alluding to, that hasn't really shaped yet, but it's going to shape up at some point. Michael Floyd has to still prove that's what he is. Laquon Treadwell has to prove that he is what he currently is not.
Treadwell needs to prove, and Floyd needs to reprove. That's two.
Floyd has to still be the same guy.
Oh yeah.
Treadwell needs to become that guy.
Yeah, he needs to take a jump.
Those are completely different steps to accomplish.
Absolutely.
And Treadwell right there is already at a disadvantage. So that's a lot for Treadwell to do in one camp, in one off season. This isn't to say he hasn't improved a lot or worked on the things that he needed to work on and gotten better and everything.
For the record, though, I don't think anyone can say at this point that he's improved a lot or improved a little. Like, you've seen basically.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to say one way or the other.
putting it, concrete opinion here.
Yeah.
He hasn't proved it. We haven't seen the off-season transition at all yet. Again,
which
organized
I like what you're bringing up
activities.
here. I like what you're bringing up here because he's been posting stuff, videos of workouts, social media and stuff, and I absolutely do not buy that at all. Like,
trying to convince
people,
us.
The same thing happened a year ago with Cordero Patterson. He'd be working out shirtless on the beach, and people be all freaking out because, oh my God, he's running routes against nobody, really ghosts, and he's catching passes. Wow, he's going to really be a good receiver now.
Can he
And the
move fast?
same thing with Treadwell. I mean, people are freaking out about these workouts he's posting against. I mean, he's running routes against nobody and catching passes. Like, what is that supposed to? And
When
the thing here too is
the
like,
biggest concern
aren't NFL athletes supposed to be working out in the off season? Like, isn't that kind of a requirement? Like, that you stay in
Kelvin
shape?
Benjamin would say no, but I think most guys would say yes.
That's a low bar to set. That's a low bar to set if you're
a professional athlete, you work out 7 days a week. You have some sort of regimen where you do 60 minutes.
Bottom line,
least.
people get hyped up about these workout things that's happened the last 2 years, and then they don't mean anything. They don't mean a single thing.
Workout that does mean something, and everyone should check this out, is James Harrison's workouts. Those mean something. If you watch James Harrison work out and tell me he's not the scariest person in the entire world. Flipping over 500-pound tires and just like, it's not even like he's pumping iron. It's like he's absolutely just beating the thing up. Like, he's crazy. He's absolutely insane. So watch those workout videos.
How old is he now? Is he 40?
38.
He's close to 40.
38, and he's insane. He's absolutely 3 times cut, keeps coming back, keeps putting up numbers. Watch his videos and take stuff away from that, because your main takeaway would be this guy is he's bionic, because he is out of his mind. It's like he's trying to come up with new workouts every single time he works out. It's outstanding stuff. It's funny. It's cool. It's entertaining. James Harrison's Instagram. Talk to me about that, because I don't care about Cordero Patterson running half routes in the sand. Period.
Yeah, I mean, that sums it up pretty well. Yeah.
So
a little bit off topic, but...
I mean, yeah, I did say in the intro that we might hit some tangents, so there's your James Harrison look for the week. Last thing I want to talk about with Treadwell here before we get in the top fives. Just overall, what is your kind of projection for him this year? Like, I'm not saying, what does this mean? I'm saying, now that you know this as well, whether it means absolutely nothing, which to me, it means absolutely nothing, but what's your thought? What do you think of Laquon Treadwell this year? Give me a broad, general, like 300 to 500 yards and 2 to 4 touchdowns, something like that. You don't need to be specific, just give me a general estimate.
Well, I think
here.
He's going to end up being the number 4 on the depth chart, but
with red zone, like, specific.
Right. I mean, I think he'll be behind Floyd, but it depends on how Shermer wants to use these guys, because he could bring them both in at the same time and have them on opposite sides and do some things with Diggs and Thielen or whatever. But I mean, I'm somewhere between. I mean, something around 20 receptions is probably at the most. I mean, I don't see anything big with him at this point. Close to 200 yards, maybe a couple touchdowns.
I think that he has the best chance to put up something like 160 yards, but have 6 touchdowns. I feel like that's probably.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
that'd be kind of fun.
That's a high ceiling for Laquon Treadwell, because that would. If he scored 6 touchdowns this year, I would be a lot more optimistic moving forward, because that means something. 6 touchdowns, you can't fluke.
Well, that means
touchdowns.
The Vikings are employing him in the red zone too, which is kind of.
Which is nice. That's
that
something
was
that I've been
big calling card when he is a prospect. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that type of thing could happen, but I just don't think he's going to get the targets or the reps, especially with everyone to go around. I mean, Stephon Diggs is going to see probably 130 targets this year. Adam Thielen could easily see 115-ish, 120 as well.
Yeah.
Michael Floyd probably sees 50 to 55. Rudolph probably sees about 80. I mean, I'm running out of pass attempts here. You know what I'm saying?
Rodney Adams, Stacy Coley, Jarius Wright.
Exactly.
Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook will probably catch 20 to 30 balls.
Hodges.
To catch 10, 15 balls and 12 touchdowns. Just saying. I mean, it's super up in the air, and again, he has the opportunity to solidify himself as that split end of the future right now. Right now, through the next couple months, I'm going to be very clear about that because this really doesn't mean all of that much. It's just kind of fun fodder for us to talk about. That's the biggest thing here.
Yeah, one more thing. I mean, I guess to sum it all up, Laquon Treadwell will get that first shot, I guess. I mean, to be that
as he should.
Number 3, the guy in the third receiver set, the 3 receiver sets, he'll get that chance as the first round pick. I don't know if that's right, but I think that he probably will. But again, like I said, he has to prove that he is a receiver that he was not last year. And what Michael Floyd has to do is prove that he is a guy he already has been. So,
or potentially even more. So,
right. Floyd has it easier, and I think
considerably
has a lot easier task, I guess, as far as what to prove on the field than Laquon Treadwell does. So I'm taking Floyd.
Simply put, Floyd is established. Laquon Treadwell is not. That's the easy way to put it there. And from there, let's hop into the top 5. A little lighter subject. A lot less negative words, I would assume. For the most part, it's probably be a pretty positive one. Top 5 celebrations. This is not limited to the Minnesota Vikings. This is across the NFL. And how I explained this to Drew when we kind of coordinated this idea was anything that you can explain. So branded type of things. I'm not going to give you an example because I don't want to give any of my stuff away. But basically, if you know a guy because of the way he celebrated touchdowns, would be the way he celebrated sacks, or the way he celebrated an interception. If you know that guy because of this type of celebration, it qualifies. So that's kind of what we're working with here. Jump right into it, Drew. Give me your top 5.
I'm going to first start out with a couple honorable mentions just because of their historical, I guess, significance and kind of, when you think of touchdown celebrations and NFL celebrations, you think of these two guys, Deion Sanders, primetime, and then Chad Ochocinco. I had to give them some recognition. I don't have them in the top 5, so, and then also I want to give a shout out here to Jerick McKinnon because last year against Dallas when he scored, and then he did the Ezekiel Elliott eating whatever it was, soup or whatever that is. I don't even know what that is. He's eaten. And then he threw it away. And then did his little dance. I love that. But anyway, so number 5, Brian Robinson's fishing and reeling it in. I like that a lot.
One of the best, yeah.
See, I'm not a big fishing guy, so otherwise he'd probably be number 3.
Creative, and it's
creative, and he's stuck with it too, which I like, and it fits who he is and his kind of off-field personality a lot. So I like that. Number 4, Terrell Owens could go so many ways here. The autograph on the football, the pom-poms, the cheerleader, whatever. But I love what he did back when he was a Niner, when he would score in Dallas and then go on the star and raise his arms out.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that one.
That's sweet, especially for a guy like me who hates the Cowboys more than any team in the league and hates Jerry Jones more than anybody, any owner, any front office person in the NFL. So I love that.
It's an iconic moment. I mean, he got tackled
right, and then he went to Dallas. He became a Cowboy, and then that was his celebration there too. So it came full circle. Number 3, Cam Newton and the dab. I love how that trend started because now it's like, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the dab as the actual dab, but like how I just love Cam Newton as his flamboyancy, how creative he is, and how he's not afraid to be himself when he does score. He does the Superman thing, he does the dab, he does all these, and he's
very brandable.
He's himself.
For sure. Yeah.
Yes, he is himself, and for better or worse, people accept it.
Love that.
Number 2 and number 1 are both Minnesota Vikings celebrations that we should, everybody knows about. The Jared Allen sack dance is number 2. That's, I think, for me, it's the iconic kind of Vikings defensive dance, I guess, from the, since I've been a fan. This guy, I mean, what needs to be said really other than terrific motor, one of the most disruptive players on the defense since I've been really watching. That 2011 season when the Vikings were the worst team in the league probably, and he still put up 22.5 sacks. That's unreal. So Jared Allen, number 2, and number 1, of course, my favorite moment probably as a Vikings fan in my life, the Randy Moss moon at Lambeau. It was the perfect encapsulation of the rivalry, the underdogs at Lambeau in the playoffs. Randy Moss was injured, and it's his second touchdown of the game against
Harris.
Again at Lambeau against the fan base that was. I mean, now that the history we heard after that is that they were doing that same thing to the Vikings bus as they arrived.
Literally dropping their pants, though.
Back to him. Oh yeah, and he does it right back to him, and then Joe Buck's call on top of it. That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss. Like it's all perfect. And
Vikings fans hate Joe Buck for that reason.
Yeah, I like Joe Buck, but that call it perfectly sums up kind of everything. So that's my top 5 right there.
Okay, this is going to be difficult to narrow. I have 12 celebrations listed here.
Jeez.
So
you're trying too hard. Try hard.
No, I'm not trying. These are all reputable. I'll give a list of honorable mentions real quick. First of all, Jermaine Wiggins breaking down, getting wiggy with it.
Yep,
no doubt needs to be here somewhere. Number 2 on the honorable mentions is just Linval Joseph's big kind of rolls his belly a little bit, and he just does the walk. One of my favorite gifs of all time is the thing where he just kind of pumped a little bit and just kind of cool guy walks away.
That cocky walks,
he has the fat guy walk, I just love
the fat guy.
Linval Joseph's not charisma, just his attitude as a nose tackle and the sellies that he comes up with. So I want to bring him up here. I'm gonna put Brian Robinson here because Drew already brought him up. Love the fishing celly. It's one of the most unique in the league, and I love that it's literally become his thing. And we know that he's a fisherman because of that celly. So, and this absolutely needs to come up. Joe Horn answering the cell phone, pulling it up from underneath the little.
That should have been in my honorable mention too.
Yeah, that's just. I mean, it's not my favorite, but that might be the most iconic celebration period, other than something maybe like Terrell Owens celebrating the stars right there too. But for just stuff that you really remember, if the SC top 10 celebrations of all time, Joe Horn's always going to be 1, 2, 3.
It'd be in there.
Yeah, so that one was unbelievable. And so from there, let's hop into my actual top 5 list. Number 5, just in general, Von Miller, he's hilarious. I mean, he's so funny when he celebrates.
Yeah.
The Key and Peele one that he's done multiple times now with the extra pump, he does it really well. He's a good actor. So I find that absolutely hilarious. And he's just come up with some really weird, just movements. And he's a weird dude, and I just dig it. So I think that his celebrations are top-notch. So he is number 5 for me. I'm going to put Jared Allen at number 4. Like Drew said, I said this on the last episode, just iconic in terms of Viking celebrations. No one will ever forget that celebration. I guarantee every single person listening up to this show has at some point reenacted that celebration just to themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone has done it. It's iconic in Minnesota. Jared Allen, and a hell of a personality, too. Just a great dude, and it's always did it. The Donald Penn one, too, that we referenced on the last show, where he really milked the celebration, slowed it down, and kind of threw the hands up in his face and stuff. Yeah. Awesome. So he comes in at number 4. Number 3, and Drew just told me that he hates this one, but I love Sean Merriman's Lights Out dance. First of all, number 1, the name, Lights Out, that's a sick name. For a sack celebration, that's a pretty cool, a brand title for him. Second of all, it's nothing. Guys, it's not even a dance. It's just that's... it's hilarious. It's just it's so...
That's my point.
It's like the pet rock. It's so not creative that it's a $1 million idea. So I thought that was hilarious. And just the fact that he's literally tattooed Lights Out on his arm. He is Lights Out. That's just a sick brand to have. So
he did capture that as his own personality and his image and his brand.
He was
so
an elite
I'll give him
pass
that.
rusher too, by the way. So he was doing
for
that
a year and a half.
Yeah, but he did it 40 times in 2 years. So a lot of fun, and he was really cool to watch opposite Sean Phillips in San Diego. Just saying. So that's number 3 here on my list. Number 2. This isn't good. I'm gonna say Diggs's shovel celebration that he's only done.
Oh yeah,
6 times.
Good. That's good.
The reason why he comes in on this list at all is the really big, like the one where he just knocked all the security guards and stuff out of his way.
Chicago.
40-yard touchdown against Chicago to tie the game
Yeah.
up. Teddy Bridgewater won that game. Only win at Soldier Field since the Bush administration. Just saying. And Diggs just absolutely lit it up. He kicked like 6 guys out of his way. All his teammates were like coming up to like celebrate with him, and he was just like
Mike Wallace had to calm him down.
Yeah, he was like he was amped, and I just part of the reason why Stephon Diggs is one of my absolute favorite players and why I've been in his camp since before day one is just he oozes swag, and it's so I don't like the word swag. I think it's a dumb word, but he is literally like he has so much swag. He's nuts. I just love Stephon Diggs and how he's very brandable. He could be a face of your franchise if he could stay healthy. And number 1 for me, had Drew not said the celebration of the star, this would probably be here because that's one of those YouTube videos that I watch over and over and over. I just love it because it's iconic. The fact that he got lit up by a Hall of Famer at the middle. I mean, it's like it's just the perfect 10-second clip. You know, it's so Terrell Owens. That moment might literally be like
slams the ball down and then goes up and then there comes Roy with boom.
I want to think that Hall of Fame voters probably remember that moment and think not Hall of Fame material because of how disrespectful it was. Honestly, it's that iconic to me.
Old crusty guys that are old fashioned. They're keeping Terrell Owens out of the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Right. And but since Drew did mention that, I will give you my actual number 1. And I cannot believe that I can't believe that you didn't come up with this one. I thought for sure that we were going to link on this one. I'm not doing Moss either because Moss is obviously right there, but Drew already did that. We got to do the get your roll on. Dante Culpepper's touchdown, Shelly. I mean, the best was when he would do it for like 20 straight yards, right? Like he'd throw a touchdown from the 25 and he would roll all the way into the end zone with like Klein Saucer like bumping on him and like all his offensive line trying to get on him. I can't believe I didn't think of that one. Dude, Culpepper, one of the best 4-year careers ever. He was just so much like.
Oh, I know.
He was electric for just. He
would have won the MVP in 2004 if it wasn't for Peyton Manning's record-breaking year. I mean,
that
was the MVP season.
He was the first quarterback that I really kind of fell in love with. He was my quarterback. I mean, I remember Cunningham, but Cunningham was an Eagle to me. So Culpepper was my first quarterback, and I will never get. I celebrate with the roll once in a while when I'm amped up about something. Like I will never forget it. That's just one of those celebrations, and it's the Vikings one especially. So that is my top 5 here. One thing I want to throw in here, it's on the same topic of the Take 5 segment. On my Vikings top 5 favorites of all time that we did a couple episodes ago, back when I was talking with Sam Newman, I failed to mention Fred Smoot. That right needs to be wrong. That wrong needs to be righted here. Fred Smoot absolutely has to be my top 5. He's the funniest player of all time, the greatest shit talker of all time. He is everything that I love about cornerbacks. Like what makes me find cornerbacks intriguing. Fred Smoot, and then on top of
Fred Smoot.
Yeah.
Fred Smoot. All the cornerbacks Fred Smoot.
He is just he was good for again like 3 or 4 years. He was really really good. I mean, remember him and Steve Smith getting into it and how fun that was? Like back when football was physical after the actual play call and like people used to like beat each other up and stuff. I mean, Steve Smith has an iconic line about how he ended Fred Smoot's career. Like it was just I don't know. Fred Smoot needed to be in my top 5. I made a mistake there. I probably have to kick out Kelly Campbell. That means because he was my number 5. But Smoot jumps like all the way up to like number 2. He easily hops Adrian Peterson, so he's probably number 2 all time for me behind Sidney Rice. Never forget Fred Smoot. Just wanted to get that in real quick. Any final thoughts from you, Drew?
No, that was a great final thought. I think we should end on that.
All right, so that is the end of yet another episode of the About the Labor podcast. We will be back next Tuesday per standard here. I think we're getting to a real rhythm here. Tuesday, Thursday, every single week. I believe we've been doing it for about a month now, so that is what to expect moving forward, at least for the remainder of the offseason. I think we're going to bump it up to 3 episodes during the regular season, but we'll see what happens there. And, yeah, make sure to check us out next Tuesday, Vikings ATL Pod on Twitter. I'm Robert, Reidell. Drew is Drew, Mahoa. Drew,
No.
Mahowald. There we go.
There it is.
That's Drew's Twitter. Make sure to catch him on there. And, of course, don't quote tweet us because it's going to piss us off. We went over that the last 2 episodes, so you guys know that now. And thanks for listening, and we will catch you guys later on.